We're joined by Bill Kurelic from bucknuts.com, the best recruiting expert in the country when it comes to Ohio State football. Bill, Ohio State signs 21 players here in the early signing period. Really no surprises, right?
No, it was everything exactly as expected. You know, the organization that Mark Pantoni and his staff, and then of course Ryan Day and his staff, the organization is just tremendous. And you know, it just all went off without a hitch. They had 21 players that were commitments that they were expecting to sign, and I believe they were all signed by about 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning.
Bill, you look at this class, and obviously they get the best players in the state of Ohio, led by Jack Sawyer. Talk about the fence that Ryan Day and Pantoni have built around the state of Ohio and keeping the top talent in state.
Well, that fence actually goes back and was built a couple years ago. When Ryan Day got the job, the first thing he did when he went out on the recruiting road was to say that Ohio was a priority for him and then back it up with his actions. He went out all over the state to the top schools in the state. Some of them didn't even have Ohio State caliber players that particular season, but he still stopped at those schools. He went from Cincinnati to Columbus to Toledo to Youngstown, Cleveland, Akron. He went to all the top schools in the state, all around the state of Ohio, and really made sure that the Ohio coaches know how important he feels Ohio prospects are. And that really set the backdrop for what he has done the last couple of years in recruiting. And this year, he signed 6 players from Ohio. You know, he got the guys that he really, really wanted, led by Jack Sawyer, the 5-star defensive end, who is, in my opinion, the best prospect in the country. You know, he's a defensive end that could be another Chase Young or Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa. He's that kind of talent.
You look at what they did here with this class. Jack Sawyer, is he the I don't know, is he the top recruit in this class? Is this who they hang their hat on?
Yeah, he is. It's a class, you know, a class of stars. You know, there are multiple 5-star guys, but he is in the 247 Sports composite player rankings. He is the highest rated player in this Ohio State class. You know, he's ahead of some other great 5-stars, though. You've got Donovan Jackson, offensive line from Texas, tremendous prospect who I think is going to vie for playing time as a true freshman. And that's really hard to do as an offensive lineman at a school like Ohio State. Travion Henderson, arguably the #1 running back in the country, is signed now with Ohio State. The quarterback beat continues for Ohio State. Kyle McCord, a 5-star quarterback, has signed with the Buckeyes. So, you know, Sawyer leads it, but it's just a tremendous class at the top, you know, really all the way through.
They have the top class in the Big Ten. It's not even close. You look at the number of 5-star, number of 4-star players they landed, and then #2 just behind Alabama. But that was a close race, wasn't it? I mean, and they keep score. Ryan Day wants to win. If you're going to keep, Urban Meyer used to say the same thing. But it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out, which class is better when it comes to seeing it on the field when these kids actually start playing.
Yeah, you never know how exactly they're going to turn out 3-4 years down the road. But like you said, you want to win. And Ohio State is winning on the recruiting front. They're winning big on the recruiting front. And, you know, just because it's #2 right now doesn't mean it won't finish #1, because there are still some players out there. And in Ohio State's case, one in particular, defensive lineman JT Tuimoloau from the state of Washington. He is the #1 player in the entire country in the 247 Sports composite. And if you put him with Jack Sawyer, you know, that's going to be almost unfair for opposing offenses. And, you know, he's not going to sign with anyone today. He's going to wait. He may not even sign with anyone on National Signing Day in February. He might take it out longer than that. The earliest he would commit to anyone would be probably late January, and then perhaps he signs on February, the first Wednesday in February, that second National Signing Day, so to speak. But he might even last longer. And the irony is that 2 of the top schools, the top contenders for him, are Ohio State and Alabama. And whichever way he goes, it could mean that school wins the recruiting rankings this year.
Yeah, that's the other thing. This is the early signing period. Signing day will be in February. How many more guys does Ohio State sign? They've got 21 now. How much bigger could this class get?
Well, I really think JT Tuimoloau is the guy to keep an eye on. He is a guy Ohio State absolutely wants. They still have been involved with linebacker Rajon Davis, who's committed to LSU but did not sign with anyone today. He will wait until National Signing Day 2 in February before he signs. He's looking at staying with LSU, which is what he says he will likely do at this point, but he also is still interested in Ohio State and USC. So we'll see what happens with him. Tristan Lee, an offensive lineman, five-star offensive lineman, is still got Ohio State on his list. I would be surprised if that one goes the Buckeyes' way, but he's still out there. He won't sign until February. So there are still a few guys out there, but really the guy that Ohio State wants at the top of the list is JT Tuimoloau.
I want to ask you, because we talked earlier in the year about what we were witnessing at Ohio State. And clearly, John Cooper and Jim Tressel and Urban Meyer all recruited outstanding. There's no question about that. But you had said these were unprecedented times that we're witnessing. And then you combine that with the fact we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. How is Ohio State doing this?
Well, I think Ohio State has really done a super job with their technology and their creativity. Mark Pantoni, the director of player personnel, and his staff, they're as good as it gets when it comes to doing this stuff. They've taken I guess you'd say, the creativity to another level. Instead of official visits this year, none of these players have been able to make an official visit to Ohio State. So for all intent and purposes, the official visits are virtual official visits. They've had these guys on virtual tours of Ohio State. They've done Zoom calls with these kids. It's all been done very creatively. And I've had players, many players tell me that the Ohio State virtual tour was not like none other than they've done. That Ohio State did it better than anybody else. And a couple of those players didn't even end up signing with Ohio State that told me that. Most of them did, but a couple didn't. And that tells you a lot about the job that Mark Pantoni and his staff did, both technology-wise and creativity-wise.
And it's amazing, Bill, when you look at it, because second-ranked recruiting class right now with a chance to be number one. And then you look at next year's class, 2022, it's currently ranked number one on your website.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good lead too in that class. LSU is number 2 for the class of 2022, but they're a decent amount behind Ohio State right now. Ohio State has got 9 commitments. I expect that to grow by at least one, if not several, in the coming weeks. They're off to a spectacular start with that 2022 class, and that's a class that's led by the number 1 player in the country, quarterback Quinn Ewers, who originally committed to Texas but flipped to Ohio State, and having him in the class really helps them go out and recruit other players, specifically wide receivers. If you're a wide receiver, where else could you think of to go better right now than Ohio State, knowing that they have the best quarterback in the country in your class 2022 already committed to the Buckeyes?
Last thing, Bill, unprecedented times. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. Have you ever seen anything like this with Ohio State, and where does this end?
Well, if you're a Buckeye fan, you hope it doesn't. It really is a golden era of Ohio State football and recruiting. Urban Meyer was fantastic. Jim Tressel did a good job recruiting. John Cooper actually recruited well. It just didn't always translate on the field. But what Ryan Day is doing right now really is almost, I hate to say another level because Urban was so good at it, but what Ohio State's doing with the number 1 and number 2 classes in the country back-to-back years, that's really, really, really special.